so I started doing the weightlifting. The next year in '98, I got pregnant with the little one back there. And so taught aerobics all through my pregnancy, had the baby. When the doctor said push, it was no problem because I had abs. 4 pushes, boom, there comes Mark. Here he is, nice and easy. And because I knew how to contract my abs at that time, you know, and I had some ab muscle. And so here comes Mark. 6 weeks after he's born, I'm back into my size 8 shorts. No problem, okay? And then continued working. And so just everything in your life is easier. Doesn't matter what it is when you're healthy and when you're a normal weight. Now, when I was a child and I was overweight, I'm going to go back to that right now and talk a little bit about that real quickly. In 7th grade, I knew I was overweight, and I started liking boys. And so I just went to my dad and I said, Dad, you know what? I want to go to Weight Watchers or something, you know. And he said, okay, we'll take you. And I don't know how much it cost to go to Weight Watchers back then, but my mom and dad didn't have the money. But they took me. And my mom took me like every Tuesday night. And of course, there's only about 2 teenagers in the whole class. Everybody else is older women. I felt out of place. I didn't enjoy it. I did learn a lot about food. And they gave us these little books, and we would check off our boxes and everything. And for a 12-year-old, I guess I did okay. I mean, my mom helped me a little bit. I pretty much did it myself. I lost about 20 pounds. And for a kid, that's a lot. And so I quit going. And pretty much all through my teenage years, I just kind of went up and down with my weight. And even though I was never real overweight, even if you're a size 12 in junior high and high school, and everybody else is a 3, are you overweight? You feel like you are. And so I felt like I was. And I was very unhappy. And then, again, in college, back into Weight Watchers. And even became a lifetime member. As soon as I would quit going to the meetings or quit checking off my boxes, here comes the weight back on. And so then I started buying mail order diets. Oh, I started this in high school. Anything that came on TV. Now, see, we didn't have the computer back then, okay? And I know you young people can't understand that, but we did. And so commercials would come on. So we'd write in and send our check in the envelope and order the diet. Okay, and so I tried all those. And so on every fad diet, everything, I would lose weight. I would. They all would work for a while. And then gradually I'd gain it back. Okay? And my set point was about 150. Like you're saying you can't get out of the 147 to 145 to 150. It seems like if I just kind of eat what I want to eat and not eat too much, that's about what my weight will stay at. I have to do more to get down to where I am now. I have to do more than just kind of be normal. I have to do more exercise and really tweak that diet just a little bit so that I can stay out of that 140 range. So I went from 140s, 140 up to 175, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Never really got above 175 until after I had David, and then that was when I was up in the 190s, and I was very unhappy then. And so anyway, that's where I was at age 34. And at that time, so David, my oldest son, was 2 years old, and my dad had an accident, and so he was in the hospital. He had gotten hit in the head with a big heavy piece of metal, and it had broken his forehead out. So he had had surgery to have a plate put in his forehead. So we were in the hospital. I was in there with my mom, and we were in there with my dad. And there was a man that was on the other side of the curtain in the bed next to him. And the curtain was pulled back about halfway. And this man's feet, you could see his feet, you know, at the end of the bed. Well, he only had half a foot. And so we walked out of the room, and I'm like, Mom, what happened to that guy's foot? And I knew she would know, because my mom's the type, you know, if she's in the hospital, well, what else do you do but just talk to everybody? You know, so I knew she would have, you know, figured out, you know, what happened to him or whatever. Did he have an accident? Or that's what I thought. And she said, no. She said, he didn't have an accident. He has diabetes. And you can lose your parts of your fingers or your toes with diabetes. Well, I had never heard that before. I said, really? And she said, yes, and you should be very careful with your weight because you don't want diabetes. Well, and back then, it seems like when I was little, they used to call it sugar diabetes. Yeah. You didn't want sugar diabetes, you know. And so I didn't know anything about diabetics, and but I kept thinking about that. And as we were going up the stairs, coming back, we had gone down to get a snack. We came up one flight of stairs in the hospital. And at the top of the stairs, my mom, who was 58 years old, was not winded, and I was at 34. And I went home, and I was just so upset and so depressed about my weight anyway. I said, okay, I'm going to go start going to that valley across which was across the street, right? Which I couldn't walk, really. It was a busy street. I had to drive, but still, it was just across the street. And my husband, who's sitting over here, look how thin he is. He's always been thin like that. To him, eating is an interruption in his day. Okay, so don't throw tomatoes at him, but I know you want to. So I'm not like that. You know, I can out-eat him just about any day of the week, any meal, any time. My mom used to say my eyes are bigger than my stomach, you know, but that really wasn't true. My stomach really was that big. I could eat all that, and I did. Well, anyway, so I started going over this valley every Tuesday and Thursday. One aerobics class, okay? And like I told you, that was about all I could do was one. I mean, that was all I could do. So after 2 months, 6 weeks or so, I hadn't lost any weight. I'm like, this exercise thing doesn't work. And so I went up to the aerobics instructor, and it was a man. And I said, you know, what am I doing wrong? And he said, and I was kind of hesitant to even ask anyone at the gym for help. You guys, do not be hesitant. I didn't know that they would help me. They want to help you. They know what you need to know. Now at some gyms, the YMCA is not that way, but at some gyms, they're very heavy on personal training. And if you even start asking questions, they send you over to the sales guy that tries to sign you up for personal training. At that time, I didn't even have a job. I could not have paid for 1 hour of personal training. And 1 hour wouldn't have taught me what I needed to know. And so he said, well, how often are you coming here a week? Well, he knew he saw me on Tuesday and Thursday. So he thought I was coming other times. And I said, Tuesday and Thursday? And he said, well, you need to come at least 5 times a week if you want to lose weight. And I was like, who comes 5 times a week? Who does that? I mean, come on. You know, does he think I'm training for the Olympics or something? I was like, I didn't know anybody who exercised 5 times a week. My husband is skinny as a rail, and he only exercises about 3, about every other day he goes. And so I said, well, I don't have time for that, you know, and I didn't even have a job. I only had 1 child that was 2 years old, you know, but I'm too busy to exercise 5 times a week, you know, so I've got things to do, you know, and I'm so busy, you know, I thought I was. And he said, well, what is your priority? And he was not nice to me, and it hurt my feelings, you know. But I went home, and so I quit talking to him. I got out of there. He made me mad. And so I went home, but I kept thinking about that. And I thought, well, maybe he knows something that I don't know. And so I thought about it for 2 or 3 days, and then I told my husband, I said, if you have to eat TV dinners every night for a year, I do not care. I am going to be at that gym. My husband's like, we love Swanson. Sure, no problem, honey. said, something's got to work. Nothing's worked up till now, so something's got to work. Let's see if this works. I was there every day. Sometimes I was there twice a day, if I felt like I could. But I still was struggling through those aerobics classes. I was so tired at the end. And so I started hanging around the aerobics instructors and asking them questions, you know. And at that time, they started having lots of